Hi everybody, Zach Bice, Bice Family Tree. Today I'm going to be showing you how to build cornhole boards. Cornhole has been a huge pastime favorite for decades, especially during the spring, summer, and fall months. Football season, you see them everywhere. You see them when they're tailgating, you see them at games, you see them at family reunions. They're everywhere. So I'm going to show you how I build them. Now, I've built cornhole boards for roughly 15, 20 years. I mainly have built them for family and friends. I've rarely built them to sell, but I have built some special order to sell, and I have sold some of my own personal boards that I use myself. So, I can't promise you the world on any product. I'm not that type of person. I'm not that type of YouTuber. There's a lot of people out there that will tell you, hey, you can make $1 million selling this. I can't keep them in stock. I can't keep up. I can't make them fast enough. I'm not that type of guy. How you sell them and if you sell them is up to you. 100%. Are you marketing yourself? Are you marketing your brand? Are you marketing the item appropriately? Are you taking proper pictures and showing the quality of your item? Are you looking at your target demographic, your target market? Are you in the right climate? There are so many different factors in selling products to the public that you have to take into consideration. So that's the main reason why I never do and never plan to tell you, hey, you can make tons of money making this product. Not going to do it. I could tell you, you know, down here, I make a lot of money selling popsicles in the South. Well, guess what? If I go up to Minnesota, I'm not going to sell that many. Same thing for up there. You probably sell snow blowers like crazy. You come down here, you're not selling snow blowers. I'm sorry, it's not happening. So you really have to do the research, study your target market, your target demographics, see if the market's oversaturated. Like right now, planters, way oversaturated. Cutting boards, oversaturated. If they are, and it is still something you want to build and sell, differentiate it, make it your own, make it unique to where it stands out from the competition. Now, that being said, I do have an MBA and I am pretty well versed in business. However, again, I'm not going to make promises that I personally can't keep. So if you want to build cornhole boards, I can teach you how to build them. It's up to you to sell them. Let's get started. So here are the materials you are going to need. You are going to need a 2-foot by 4-foot sheet of plywood. Now you can get this at any of the big lumber stores already pre-cut, which is what I do because I just don't have the space to cut the big sheets. So I always get a minimum of 1/2 inch thick just because it makes it more sturdy. It's stronger. It'll last longer. Plus, I mean, you could go thinner, but you may break through your board at some point if it bumps into something. I'd rather err on the side of caution and build it more sturdy. Now, you can go thicker than 1/2 inch if you want, but just keep in mind it's going to make your board a lot heavier. The plywood I have here is actually birch. It's on the more expensive side because I am making this as a custom set I've never tried before. Actually doing it with epoxy, cutting some slices out. I'm gonna put LED lights behind them. Uh, this is more of an experiment. So I did get a bit of the harder wood to do this with, so it adds a little more rigidity to it. But you don't have to go with the more expensive. Just make sure it is a smooth, flat surface plywood. Next, you're going to need some 1x4s. You can do the sides and front, back, and bases and legs with 2x4s, but again, the thicker you go on the wood, the heavier it's going to be. The first set of cornhole boards I made was with 2x4s, and let me tell you, you needed some muscle to move them around. So you're going to cut 2 at 4 feet, 2 more at 22.5 inches long. It's going to be your front and back, and a third at 22.5 inches long. That is going to be our center brace. I usually get the 1x4s that are already surfaced on all 4 sides. just because it makes things easier for the assembly. You don't have to go that route. It just makes it a lot easier. For the center brace, I am just using a regular pine fairing strip that's got the rounded off sides, just because it is just there for structural integrity to make the board a little more stiff to where it doesn't bend as much. It's not going to be a visual part. It's going to be hidden on the back side of the board. And then we have our legs. You're going to have two legs. Now, I made this 20 years ago, and yes, I spelled miter wrong. So, yeah, don't shoot me. It's a 35-degree cut for the base of the leg, and use a 3/8 drill bit for the hole. The leg itself is 14 inches long from the end to the long end of our miter. I will demonstrate how to and where to drill the hole later once we get the board halfway through the assembly process. But this is how the legs are made. So I'm going to, since I've already got this template, what I usually do is I just make a mark where the angle is, and I make one more mark where my cutoff is for that end, and I cut as necessary. So I'm going to do that, and I will meet you back over at the assembly station. Hello, beautiful people. We are back over at the deep freezer / assembly station. We have our two 1x4 4-foot sides. We have our three 1x4 22.5-inch pieces for the front, back, and center brace. And we have our two 1x4 by 14-inch 35-degree mitered legs. So now you're probably wondering, okay, how do we get that big fancy 6-inch hole in that plywood? Well, there are a couple of different ways. The most common way people do it is to drill a hole and then use a jigsaw. The more efficient and what I feel is more dangerous way is a 6-inch hole saw. Now, if you've ever used hole saws before, mostly they're used for like putting in doorknobs and new doors and stuff like that. They can be a little dangerous. The 6-inch hole saw is even more so, because all that pressure is a lot harder to control the wider you go out from the center of the bit. If this bites into the plywood going at high speed, because it takes a pretty thick chuck and a pretty heavy duty drill to operate, it is going to yank your arm off, and you better be careful, because this joker is sharp. It'll spin around. I have had it bounce out, catch into my shirt, and start to rip my shirt to shreds. And luckily, it didn't catch my belly. And which, honestly, folks, I really don't know how it didn't catch the belly, because it's hard to miss. So there is a third option. Now, if you've already got a 6-inch hole cut with a hole saw, I recommend using a router to cut future boards. Use that first board as a jig. And what I mean by that is clamp your new board under the board you've already got the hole cut, and use your router to slowly cut through the second board. And it basically, I mean, it makes it so much easier, so much safer. It's a clean cut. It's perfectly circular. Whereas with a jigsaw, you're not ever going to get a perfect circle like you will with a hole saw or the router with a jig. So that's the route I use. I have a jig that I use instead of this hole saw because it's dangerous. You have to be really careful. If you do use the hole saw, don't go full speed, but do a steady medium speed, no pressure, and keep it as straight as possible, because if it bites into that wood, like I said, it bites hard. So let the saw do the work for you. Now, that being said, I've already got this one cut, so this is the one I'm going to use for assembly today. Now, the measurement for cutting out that hole is the center of your board, which is going to be 12 inches. And then 9 inches from the top of the board will be the center of the hole. So measure 9 inches from the top, 12 inches from the side. You'll have your center, and then punch your mark, drill your hole by one of the 3 methods I told you earlier. Or if you've already got the jig or a board cut, you don't have to measure anything. So another added bonus to already having one cut. Now, I know it's a bit messy. I've still got some tape. It's under the epoxy that I'm using. Again, this is an experiment I've never done before. I've still got some sanding stages to do and polishing for both sides, but it is at a point where I can start assembling the board. So this is the one I'm going to use for demonstration purposes. Now, there are 2 different methods you can use in assembling the sides and the front and back of your board. One is if your measurements are perfect, you can go ahead and build the frame without attaching it to the board first and then attach it to the board later. I personally don't like doing that. The reason is my measurements aren't always perfect, and it tends to have some overlap one way or another, or not long enough. Just don't like doing that. I like having it where the board is face down, and again, with these boards already being surfaced on all sides, I like to run some glue, and I always do the sides first. Run some glue, give it a good little rub joint, align it, and clamp it down or set something steady on it, and just wait for the glue to dry. So I'm going to do that now. Okay, now that we have our boards in place and waiting for this glue to dry, I'm going to take a little break. I decided not to put the center brace in yet because I still need to sand and polish the epoxy. It's just going to get in the way if I put it in there now. But this is the part where you would put it in. So the glue's almost dry, but I'm going to go ahead and explain where I'm going to be securing these boards with screws. So I know there are many different ways to do it. However, I like to come in through the top of the board with screws in multiple places throughout the frame. And I like to put in 2 screws here on the sides going into the top board and the bottom board. So we've got 2, 4, 6, 8, 10, 12, 14, 16, 16 screws, maybe 18. I never really count them. I don't think I ever do it the same way twice. The other way to do it is with a pocket hole jig. I've never liked doing pocket hole screws, especially in these boards, because I don't want the screw going through the top of the board. Plus, you can't really secure the very corners of the board to the frame, and those are the areas that like to warp and curl up if they get moisture in them, which cornhole boards are played outside. They're going to get some moisture on them. So I always like to do the screws through the top of the board. I do countersink them, and I hide them with wood filler, and then I sand it down and paint over them. You don't even know they're there. So it doesn't really matter. I'd rather my board be stronger for it. So for my countersink, what I like to use is a 7/64 number 8 bit, and I use 2-inch DSV wood screws. They seem to be the easiest to use, not a lot of splitting issues with these. I used to use Spax construction screws, but I had a lot of splitting issues. But I do like these, and so these are the ones that I'm going to be using for this board. And of course, the T25 bit is always included in every one of these boxes, which is really nice. I've got the bit, but it's always nice to have extras. Well, since we're waiting for the glue to dry, puppies, it's puppy time. Hello, puppies. Hello, puppies. My girls, Kyla and Holly. Say hello to everybody. Yeah, say hello. Hello, puppies. Hello. You girls want to go outside? Come on, let's go outside. No, that's inside, dummies. Come on. Come on, let's go outside. Go outside. Out. Outside. Kyla. Hey, stupid. Come on. Go outside. Good Lord of mercy. The stupid is real with y'all today, isn't it? Go potty. Okay, so now I've got the screws put into the sides of the frame. See how they're countersunk? I'm going to take some wood filler, fill that over, and then sand it down. And like I said, if you're painting the boards, even staining the board, you won't even really know that they're there. I just like the structural integrity of it. So on the top of the board, I like to put one right about here, as close to those other screws as I can get. And I like to put one right here. So I do that on each corner. I like to put one, I'll measure to the center of the board. I like to put two along the sides. So I'll measure a third of the way across the board, put one there, and of course, do the same thing on each corner. So for the wood filler that I use on the screws, I just use Gorilla high performance wood filler. Um, make sure it's interior, exterior, um, natural finish, natural color. Make sure it's stainable. So it really doesn't matter what brand you use. Just make sure it's stainable. Okay, now that we have filled our holes with wood filler, going to do the legs. Now the legs, I normally use 3/8 carriage bolts and wing nuts, but for the life of me, I can't find the ones that I bought for these boards a while back. So I am going to use these 5/16 carriage bolts and just some regular nuts for now until I'm going to replace them with actual wing nuts. They're just easy to use to tighten it down. You won't, don't need a wrench or anything. So for just for the purpose of showing how to do it, you measure down center of the board 3 inches and drill your hole. Now I like to go ahead and clamp the leg to the inside and drill the hole through both boards at the same time, and then take it out. And obviously it won't raise until we round it off. And you can take a roll of tape or paint can or something and draw a circle and round it off at your bandsaw with your jigsaw, whatever you'd like to use. And then bring it back, put the bolt through, and test fit to make sure it actually unfolds and it's going to rest against the back of the board like so. So that's what you want, and then you want it to fold back down flush. So I'm going to go ahead and do that and show you the results in a moment. Also, when you go to drill this hole, Make sure your board is oriented correctly with the acute side of the angle facing down. So when it unfolds, it's going to be flat on the ground. And here we have both of our legs in the up position, and they fold back down flush inside the board. Now, what I've seen other builders do, I've never done it, but I do want to, is they add another 1x4 in between and cut holes in it as, you know, cup holders and stuff like that. They also put like a bottle opener on the end, all kinds of cool ideas. They can put their logo, their company name, you know, whatever theme you have for the board, all kinds of cool stuff. So there's a lot of options. Um, I'm actually, I keep getting a little concerned about this leg. That's not enough meat for my taste, so I'm probably going to redo that one. But that's just pretty much to show the functionality of the leg, what you want it to do. Now, for the handle, I always put stainless steel handles on the side of the board. Some people put hooks to where they put the boards together and you can carry them with one hand. I like to carry them with two hands, kind of balance out, because bad back issues teaches you to, you know, treat your back right. Don't do things all lopsided and cattywampus. So where I choose to put the handle, so I'll just take my two fingers here, pick up on the board, and try to find where the center of mass is. Feels like it's right about there. It's not leaning forward, it's not leaning backwards. That feels comfortable. So I will mark the center, and that's where I'll place my handle, drill the holes, and I'll be done. Not going to do it with this board because I'm not finished with the design, and I'm not exactly sure what I'm going to do with this one. I'm thinking uh, maybe scorch and stain. Not sure. I've got a lot of thinking to do. This is, like I said, this is an experiment. Um, but I think it's going to look cool with the LEDs behind it. I might do a future video on the second board once I figure out exactly how I want to do this one. But at least this video shows you the basics of what I do to build my cornhole boards. All right, so now you've got the board built, legs are on, everything's ready to go, and you're ready to customize it how you want to customize it. You can either sugar boogie it, as Bearded Viking says, and then stain it. You could paint it, which is what I typically do. You can add decals, logos, stickers, however you want to do it. It's up to you. When I paint my boards, I use just the regular blue painter's tape, and then I use Valspar or whatever brand um, paint is really the cheapest. But I use exterior paint, and I always use semi-gloss. I don't use gloss. I don't use matte. You can if you want, but I'm telling you, gloss out in that sun, it's going to blind you. So I typically go with semi-gloss, um, and I put one or two coats, depending on the striping or whatever the design is, and I brush it on and let it dry, and then go forth. And then if I have decals, I put my decals on top of the paint. At the end of this video, I'm going to show some other pictures of other boards that I've made. Some of you've probably already seen them before, but they're different paint schemes. And I'm going to show some of the pictures of the midway through the process, how I bend the tape, how I do the stripes, things like that. It's really simple to do. So if a big dumb galoot like me can do it, I promise you, you can do it. And you can make your boards look beautiful. Now for finish, I use Minwax polyacrylic, and I only ever typically use the clear satin. Now, you can go with gloss, you can go with matte again, but I'm telling you, again, like with the paint, if you go with gloss, it's going to be really shiny, and out there in that sun, it's going to blind you. I did that with one set of boards and I instantly regretted it. So I only ever typically use clear satin. And what I do is I put a minimum of 7 coats on the face of the board where the cornhole bags are making the impact. Um, Typically, you can put 1 coat, wait 2 hours, put on another coat, wait 2 hours, put on the other coat. If you try any sooner than that, it's going to leave brush marks and streaks. It's going to look terrible. Typically with polyacrylic, I just use the little 3-inch or 4-inch foam brushes. I have found that they make it a lot easier. It makes a nice even coat. If you use regular paint brushes, it's going to leave lines and streaks and divots and stuff because it is quick drying. But again, minimum 7 coats. I do need to express some very important issues here with polyacrylic. You need to wait at least a week before you do any serious handling, any plaguing, anything with these boards. Let them cure. Most importantly, do not rest them against themselves when you store them. Leave them free and open to let it cure, or they'll stick together. If they stick together, they're really gonna stick together and you're gonna ruin your boards and ruin all your hard work. Ask me how I know. So now you've got your cornhole board set. Okay, what about bags? How are you gonna do the bags? Me personally, I've never made the bags myself. I can, I just haven't. Now they use typically what's called duck cloth. It's like a canvas to make the bags. They make the filling for the bags out of all different kinds of materials. Well, the original, of course, was corn, dried corn. They make them out of, poly beads. They make them out of beans. They make all kinds of different filling. And you can use whatever you like. All of them work pretty well. I highly suggest only using real corn filled bags that are duck cloth and double stitched. Here's why. The impact of those bags, it's going to hit the board and you want them to slide. That's part of the game. It also protects your board. Now, without a natural dust like the corn-filled bags produce, when they make the impact, dust comes out of the bag and it puts a coat of dust on the board. Therefore, they slide as they make impact instead of just hitting hard and sticking. Well, over time, if the bags just keep hitting hard and sticking over and over and over and over again, it's going to start damaging the board. It's going to wear out your finish, maybe even get through to the paint. I highly suggest only using natural corn-filled bags that are duck cloth and double stitch. They sell all different kinds, all different themes on Amazon, on eBay. You can find them anywhere. You can even make them yourself. It's really easy. Now, here's the downside to the natural corn-filled bags. One is rot. If they get wet and you don't store them properly, they'll get nasty, moldy, and rot. So if they do get wet, put them in a bag of dry rice, put them in something to get that moisture out of there, and store them out in the open to where mold and mildew won't grow. Two, mice. Mice will come in, bugs will come in, and they will eat through those bags and get to the corn. Ask me how I know. Just saying. So those are the two downsides, but those are very easily preventable issues with natural corn-filled bags, and it's worth the trouble considering the fact that you put all this hard work into these boards. You want them to last forever. So everybody, I really appreciate you watching this video. If you would like, share, and subscribe, it really helps the channel out. Cornhole boards have been something that I've been doing for years. I really enjoy it. I love making them for family and friends. From us at Bice Family Tree, I thank you. Take care of yourselves and take care of each other.